So Jeff and Matt, let's get started by tell us a little bit about your facilities. I know you got two facilities; they're pretty far apart, but tell us about the facilities and all the processes that you all offer to your customers.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying we do have two facilities. Our main headquarters is in Rowlett, Texas, which is just about 15 miles east of Dallas. We've been in this location since, I believe, 1983. Started out, we were out in the country. Now the city has grown up around us. We started out in about an 8,000 square foot building, and we've expanded over the years to about 51,000 square feet. And then we've got a building that we rent. It's another 10,000 square feet. This location, we probably have, I'm going to say, around 80 to 85 employees. Of course, the heart of our business is zinc plating, rack and barrel. We do acid zinc plating and alkaline zinc plating. Of course, we run sulfuric anodizing type 2 and 3. We do tin plating, bright acid tin plating, matte tin plating, bright nickel plating, electroless nickel plating, gold, silver, passive aid, a lot of the standard job shop processes, copper, gold, silver. Anything I've missed, Matt?
I think you covered it all. And then we have another location in McAllen, Texas, right along the border across from Reynosa, Mexico. They're about 500 miles apart, but they strategically, we have the same processes at each place. So we can offer our customers a true contingency plan in case anything were to happen. And we've actually done that before where we have had to transfer work from a Rowlett facility down to McAllen facility, and we didn't miss a beat. So we did that intentionally. And we have the same, like I said, the same processes. We also have the same tank sizes. And we pretty much the same products, chemical-wise, at each place.
Gotcha. Yeah. Those are about eight hours apart, correct? Is that right?
With me?
I said those are about 8 hours apart, right? If on a drive, right? They're pretty far. They're not.
More drive. We have three of us that go down to McAllen on a regular basis just to make sure that everything's going correctly. But we do have a great team down there that manages the facility for us. Really wouldn't be able to do it without those guys because they really treat the business like it's their own. We haven't always been that fortunate having a management team that cares about the place and run it like you do in the past. And it didn't go so well, but we have a really strong team now. And because of those guys, we were able to successfully have two locations.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now you mentioned that you purchased that was in 2019, right? That I believe you got the McAllen location, and what again? You said it was just kind of have some redundancy in place, correct?
Yeah, both facilities are really mirror image of each other. The facility in McAllen is about 56,000 square feet. Both facilities, of course, are ISO 2015 certified. Both facilities are AS 9100D certified. We do have a large presence in the aerospace finishing field. We really, even to this day, we are still working to make sure that every report we produce, every piece of documentation that we provide, that they are exactly alike. And the thing that we found is we've got unique talents at each place, each facility. And so we've tried to take the best at each facility and merge them together into one management system. And so you would never know if you were getting a part plated in Rowlett or you were getting a part plated in McAllen. It's not going to make a bit of difference to our customer. And
Right.
so I think we've made some great strides in that.
Right. Are you doing the same industries in both? I know you said aerospace. Are you doing it in both? And again, in Texas, I got to ask, are you doing any oil and gas and those type of things as well?
Yeah, we service our biggest industry is the automotive industry. We
Okay.
also have a big presence in airline, aerospace, defense, and we do a little bit of oil and gas, telecom, medical. Really, because Texas is so diverse and a lot of industries have moved to this area over the last
Yeah.
several years, we're fortunate to be able to service multiple industries. I think we kind of got caught in the early 2000s being, heavily into just one industry, in the telecom industry, and since that crash, we kind of learned our lesson and try to diversify as much as possible.
Yeah, a lot of people learn the lesson in that. That's a hard one there. Yeah. You talked about, and I know you talked about, the communications between the two and getting all the systems lined up. And I know you've got I guess, a pretty unique ERP system that really helps you guys communicate between the two. Talk a little bit about that. And, when did you have it? When did you really go full bore into getting maybe, more of a paperless system to kind of go through? And how's that helped you all?
Yeah, so we use Visual Shop. We have for quite a while. I think 2009 is when we incorporated that into our company. But over the last several years, we really tried to use technology to our advantage, going paperless, incorporating barcode scanning system to be able to track jobs better, to be able to update our customers quicker. We really take pride in our quality first and foremost. We want to make sure that we provide a quality part every time, but then also our on-time delivery and our responsiveness to our customers. And, having a
Right.
good ERP system and then having a good team that follows, procedures and is knowledgeable in using that system has really allowed us to go above and beyond with those three things.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it's one of the things is that an ERP system like that will help you all manage your business, but yet, really it does help customers. If they've got questions, I know you all try to get answers back to them very quickly. I guess it's really helped in your, being able to service customers and get information back to them when they want it from you, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, customers will always tell you they want the best price possible, but at the end of the day, they want a part that's on time and they want a good quality part and a plating partner that they can rely on.
Right. Yeah, definitely so. And again, something I wanted to ask you about was, like I said, you had mentioned to me, I guess, in a communication earlier, of kind of developing what customers you wanted to work with, right? And again, I guess we all learn our lessons of who you're going to work with over the years, and you kind of make notes about that. But talk about that a little bit. How is it that you all determine who you want to work with, who you want to target, maybe what industries you want to target, what type of customer? Have you guys developed that into a kind of a rating system? I understand with that.
Yes, and that's all part of a bigger system that we implemented. It's been 2.5 years ago now. It's a new management operating system that we put in place. It caused all of us to think outside the box, and we had to really start looking at things like, where do we see ourselves in the next 5 years, the next 10 years? And from some of the hard lessons that we learned, like Matt brought up about the telecom crash that happened in the early 2000s, one of the first things that we decided, there was really two things. We wanted to obviously diversify our business.
Right. Yeah.
And then we also wanted to start developing and I don't mean this in a derogatory way to any of our customers, but a higher quality customer and what I mean by that is it's going to take you a lot longer to get in, but once you're in, it's going to be that much harder for you to be taken out. You literally have to be just fall on your face. And so in order to do that, we had to brainstorm as a management team and come up with, 3 or 4 things that we were looking for in what we would consider our perfect customers. And so we were able to lay out that description on paper, and then we took that, and that is where really all of our sales efforts went into finding customers that fit the criteria that we wanted to work with and grow with. And so that turned us into some of the areas where we've got our certification, specifically aerospace. We do so much more automotive work than we ever even imagined that we would do, being in the state of Texas. The trucking industry,
Right.
and all of these industries, as well as a few others, they've got very high expectations versus the customer that you just go call on them, you can give them a good price, and the next day you're doing work plating for them, which is great. But you could also be losing that work the next day if you're not, I call it the flavor of the week. We all need customers like that, but we also all need base customers that we're going to be partners through thick and thin. And so that's kind of how we came up with our direction for the future. And we put a lot of time and money into developing customers like that.
Right. Yeah. I've often heard from finishers talk about where, the kind of the 80-20 rule, 80% of their income comes from those 20% customers who are really their base accord with that. And so, what lessons did you learn when you started looking at, who your customers were? And I'm assuming you probably had to lose some customers, right? Which I know is hard to do sometimes, to tell people to turn away business, but was that sort of the case you had to do sometimes, or?
You can't be everything to everybody. And I think that's where a lot of companies, they get in trouble, is they try and be everything to everyone. And so, really it starts with knowing what kind of company you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are as well, and figure out if it goes in line with the companies that you're working with. And then, yes, the 80-20 rule, that's a buzzword that people have thrown in. It's gained a lot of popularity over the last couple of years. And we have looked at that. We want to be able to treat all of our customers like they are in that top 20%. And you don't want to have all of, too much of your eggs in too few of companies' baskets. But yeah, so, when we look up at the end of the year and we've got 250 to 300 active customers, and for the amount of people that we have, we can't do that good of a job for every company. So we want to be able to offer them solutions. We never got into a situation where we were calling a customer and saying, we're not going to do business anymore. Because that's not how we would want to be treated as well. We want to offer everyone a solution, and for some, the solution that we offer worked out, and for others, it didn't, and they found a solution elsewhere. So, it's a tough conversation to have sometimes, and it's you never like getting into that situation with the company, but ultimately, we want to be able to provide solutions to our customers that work for them and they're satisfied, and we have exceeded their expectations when they're done doing business with us. And if we haven't, and a company can find that in another supplier, we would welcome it.
Gotcha. And you see, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to that, Tim, that was really one of the through a lot of exercises that we performed. we learned who we were as a company. We learned our strengths. We learned the directions we wanted to go with our business. And that was completely, for us to, like Matt described it, we offered what we could do, knowing that we would lose some customers. And if you go back to the founding of this company, my father-in-law founded this company back in 1979. And one of the things that he said is, we don't say no to anybody. And we didn't. And it worked great for a brand new company and in its infancy to get off the ground and to start growing. But reality, as you grow, you do have to, in one way or another, say no to people from time to time. And it was a learning experience that we had to force ourselves to start thinking that way. Not to do it in a malicious way or a disrespectful way, but you just got to be honest and be honest with the people you're dealing with as potential customers, and don't be afraid to say, this is what it's going to cost, but this is what you're going to get for what we're charging you. And we understand if that's not what you're looking for, we can help you even to find another plater that could give you what you're looking for. Last thing we want to do is burn a bridge with anybody or create enemies. And so we've just found that it really works better with that approach.
Right. Yeah, definitely with that. And now, did you do that all yourselves, or did you bring in consultants to help you? How did you all come to go through that process?
Yeah, so we had reached out to some outside consultants. You want to be able to take credit for everything that you do yourself. But sometimes, especially being in this industry and working for one company for your entire career, you're in a bubble, and sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And so, we like to turn to people that have been there before, have done what you want to achieve, and that was a big criteria when looking for somebody, bringing someone into the outside. And you need to make sure that they mesh with your people, because when you're bringing someone in from the outside and they're trying to instill ideas and change the way that people have operated for years and years, there can be a lot of pushback with that. And so there's got to be trust that's built between you and your team. And so, we felt like at the time that we decided to bring someone in from the outside, that we had a good team in place, and there was high trust there. And then when you bring them in and you start changing some things up, there initially some pushback, and then once we started to see results and we started to see some success, there was buy-in. And it's not it's not easy. It's never easy changing the way that you do things, and we're still going through changes. We have not figured it out yet. But I think that the people that are still a part of the team, the people that have been here for a long time, and people that are just starting to join our team, are starting to realize that, man, if you do look at it from a different perspective every once in a while, continue to do things that work, and then start incorporating other things to help continue the things that you are successful at, it's worth the effort at the on the other side. So
Right. Yeah.
And we did.
Do you have fewer? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we did specifically, after some interviewing with other businessmen that we knew, we trusted, we did bring in an outside company. We contracted with them to train us in a management style that was different than what we knew. And it spurred us to do a lot of this self, introspection on how we're running our business. It gave us, it really challenged us to think outside of the bubble or the box that you hear spoken of so much. Which, like Matt said, most of the people in our industry, are made up of small family. They're small businesses that are family run. You grow up in the business. I've been doing this since I was 17 years old. And since my adult life, I've never had another job. And so you only know what you know. Now, I know what I do pretty well, but I don't have a lot of experience looking from the outside in. And so we did bring a company in to help us in that area. Matt has gotten involved in some management networking groups that have turned us on to some areas that we needed help in finance, in operations. And they're not people that we brought on full time, but they're people that we have a contract with, that they are here on a regular basis, and they're not only challenging us to look at other potentially better ways to do things, but they're also backing it up with facts and figures. And so, it's hard to deny a finance guy. It's hard to challenge him when he's got it all laid out on paper and the math adds up. And so you just kind of have to go, okay, I'm going to trust what you're telling me. And so that's probably been the single biggest thing that we have really done to change the trajectory of our company and the way we choose to run it moving into the future.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. It's not about putting in a new line. It's not about, all these things. It's really the way you approach the business, running the business. And it's so funny. I talk to so many people who will say, I'm a plater. And I'll say, well, don't forget you're first a business owner. You're a business owner who happens to plate. You have to run it that way. And of course, I've had some shops tell me, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep of that. So, I know that you're going to be having some transition going on in a bit. I know Matt, and how many years, Matt, have you been working for the company now?
It's my 15th year. So
15th year. Okay.
My grandfather had me racking parts when I was 5 years old. Cheap labor. I've been around it my entire life, but I started working for Gleco full time too.
Okay, great. Well, I was going to ask you, about this sort of, kind of a paradigm shift in how you're doing this, running the business, and it sounds like it's working out for you there. Between the two of you, whose idea was it? Did you both agree early on that this is what you wanted to do, or was it sort of one of you had the idea and you just kind of went along? How did that all work out for you?
Well, so I'm third generation owner, and according to statistics, I'm a guy that's going to come in and just ruin everything, right? So I wanted to do whatever possible to make sure that I wasn't part of that statistic. And, coming from a sports background, I'm also very competitive. And so, my goal was to grow this thing and, start looking into, culture and, getting the right people in your company. I started listening to a lot of podcasts like people in my generation do, and reading some books, and then talking to some friends and getting ideas, from them. And then, taking those things that I learned to my dad. We are fortunate that we get to have some good conversations almost on a daily basis. And so kind of, bouncing those ideas off of him and kind of getting him to buy into it. And then, it's kind of been a group effort since then. There's, going through a lot of change. There's worries on my end, and then when I'm comfortable with some things, then there's worries on his end. So it actually is really good that we work well together, and that, maybe some of my strengths are not his, and his strengths are not my strengths. And it's been well. It's been good.
And that's a relationship, a unique relationship that I learned from my father-in-law. Like I said earlier, I started doing this when I was 17. And as I progressed through the company and got into more of a management role, my father-in-law was always willing to sit and talk to me and really listened to ideas I had. Now he might not always accept all of them, but he was willing to listen. And we were fortunate. We worked well together, but we also were good friends, and we trusted each other. He knew I had his back. I was married to his daughter. He knew it. He trusted me, and it's been a great full circle for me as a father to be able to have that same kind of relationship with my son. I've watched him succeed in life from a young age through college and sports. And he always showed to me a very mature approach to things. And so it just was kind of an easy thing for us to sit down, and he's got that, he's younger. He's got that new energy and ideas, and I could see where it was a continuation of what my father-in-law afforded me. So it's really easy for us to sit down and talk about things, and he's got his passions, I've got mine. So we don't agree 100% of the time, but we agree enough that I think it's benefited the business.
Right. Right. That's great. Yeah. It's funny. It seems like in the last 5 years, the way manufacturing businesses are run is completely different. And I'm sure 10 years ago, it was completely different. So yeah, it is. I mean, it seems like it is a different way. You have to take a different approach of how you're going to run business. You just cannot keep doing things the exact same way, even if you were successful at them, right? I mean, things do change and evolve, and you have to be ready to step into that. What have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen now after this process? Like you said, I guess you're getting the level of customers of yours, your clients of yours, that you really, like you said, want probably better margins and probably those type of prospects that you're getting with that.
So, I mean, from the customer side of things, I would say that, we're doing business with companies that we just had talked about in the past and didn't realize, that we would be in with some of these people this quickly. And that's been great. It's higher margin work. That's what you always hope for. But then I think the biggest change for me is on the culture side of Gleco and the people side. So, it's one thing to get up and come to work and just do a job. And, you're there for your paycheck, and that works for some people, but for us, it's the human aspect of it too. These people, they've got families too. They have lives. They want to know that you care about them, and that you have their best interests and their future in mind as well. And so just to be able to have those conversations with your people, for you to be able to pour into them, because that's really what we're in the business of, is creating opportunities for our people and to impact their lives as best as possible. And so in order for us to do that, we've got to grow, and we've got to make sure that the umbrella that we're creating allows for their dreams and their aspirations out of life as well. And through doing that, we've started to promote from within and start really trying to figure out what our people's skill sets are and what they're good at, and show them a clear path to grow with the company and getting their buy-in. And I think for me, that's the most rewarding part of this, and that's why it's I'm able to put up with the hard work that it takes to get to that point, because it is really cool. And we've got almost 160 employees and their families, and you could be talking about 500 plus people that you have the opportunity to affect in a positive way. And so it doesn't matter if it's plating or if it's something else. That's kind of the way that we treat it, and that's how we'd like to move forward.
Yeah. Like I said, it's something to have that, and like I said, get that buy-in from your employees and let them know what you're doing, and really that this is going to benefit them in the long run some of the changes that you're making and things like that. So, and any physical plant changes, any additions or lines or that you're planning, or are you just pretty much on hold for right now with things, or what's coming up?
Well, we had some significant plant changes resulting from a major fire that we had in 2018.
Yeah,
I may have mentioned that to you, and it caused us a couple of years of some severe grief and anxiety. But we got through that. We were able to during that same time not only rebuild the portion of the facility in Rowlett that was destroyed by the fire, but completely unrelated to that, we were already in the mindset and planning to move to a larger facility in McAllen. And so, believe it or not, during that rebuild of the fire, we also moved from, we were renting 13,000 square feet and wound up buying a 56,000 square foot facility that I thought we'll use half of it and I'll rent the other half of it out to somebody. And between the efforts of Matt and one of our other operations managers, they just came in with a plan and said, please don't do this. Please let Gleco have the entire building. And I'm like, it was one of those things that I just had to go, okay, I'm going to trust you on this. But if I see that it's not working, we're going to put a wall up and I'm going to lease the other half of this building. And I will sit here and tell you, Tim, I'm so glad that I was wrong about that, because that building is bursting at the seams now with just Gleco plating processes. And so that's kind of been, we kind of have backed off on any other additions of plating lines and things. We do have some very serious things in the works that are involving us getting into, and I'm just powder coating and wet painting. And we're very close to kicking off. That's our next area that we're looking at for growth, complementary growth to the plating that we do. And so I hope maybe if you and I and Matt talk again in another year, we can tell you about how great that has been for us. But that's really the only thing we've got out there right now. And then what we are really focusing on now is efficiencies of the operations we have in place. You don't have to add a new plating line to grow. And we're finding through our own efforts where we are not near as efficient as we should be. So we've got plenty of room for growth in the processes that we have, and with these new processes that we're going to probably be bringing on in the other area of finishing, we've got a plate that's full.